Good morning, Nigeria, and welcome to Daybreak Live on Dominion Television. It's Monday, the 4th of May, 2020. Joining us as we start a new week with the stories shaping the nation. I'm Oluwayemi Adelako.
And I am Samson Balogun. We are here to have you with, we are glad to have you with us on this show this morning. And we'll begin with a developing story in Nigeria's political space. A former vice president, Atiku Abubakar, is set to visit the United States of America over concerns surrounding insecurity and governance.
The planned visit raises important questions about Nigeria's global image, diplomatic engagement, and the growing concerns around national security. What conversations are expected, and what could this mean for governance at home?
And shortly after that, we'll bring you weather report to guide your day, and followed by Daybreak News, where we will take you through the major stories making headlines across Nigeria and beyond.
And of course, after that is newspaper headlines and analysis, where we'll review today's front pages and analyze the key issues driving public discourse.
And then, to our big story this morning, Obi's exit, a strategic reset or a blow to opposition unity. With shifting political dynamics ahead of 2027, what does this development signal for opposition politics, alliance, and of course, voter confidence in Nigeria?
And joining us for that conversation is Honorable Molaja Olawi, APC's stalwart, who will share insight on the implications of this move and what it means for Nigeria's political landscape.
We'll also bring you Trend Watch, where we track the conversations shaping political attention across social and digital spaces.
This is Daybreak Live on Dominion Television.
Yes, thank you for joining us. Stay with us.
Definitely.
Good morning.
Good morning, Samson. Happy New Week.
It's a wonderful, it's going to be a wonderful week anyway, because there are so many interesting stories. And you just cannot sweep them under the carpet as they are really, really interesting. And Nigeria would really want to know exactly what this means for Nigeria as a country. And most importantly, that pushes us and, of course, takes us to the issue of former Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, who was Vice President to President Olusegun Obasanjo at that time, when Nigeria returned back to full-blown democracy. And he's about to visit the U.S. There are concerns and growing concerns about insecurity in the country, no doubt about that. There are growing concerns about how fast they are spreading and how consistent it has been. It has moved away from certain pattern and it has, taken a different dimension. And the president came out lately and said, look, these are things that happen prior to an election. And yes, it's according to history, if the election is coming, there are so many things you begin to witness. These are patterns we know about Nigeria as a country, especially when it comes to insecurity and inflation, some other things like that. But it is quite unfortunate that Nigeria is actually having a repeat of what we should have learned from in the past. And Atiku Abubakar is said to visit the U.S. What does this mean for Nigeria as a country, the image of the country? And these are things that it's not new that an opposition leader would visit foreign countries, UK, US, and some other countries, and make some bold statements. Peter Obi also did that in the lead up to the last election. What exactly does this particular one mean for Nigeria and the governance itself?
Yes, I think you're very spot on, and I would love to start from that angle of what it means for Nigeria, because yesterday I was able to check the tweet of Nigerians. Some persons are asking, what's the motive behind?
In fact, some people asked the question, as who? You are going as who?
One of the leaders of the opposition parties. So they're asking, what's the motive behind this? Is this selfish? Is this for your own selfish interest, or in the interest of the nation, or in the interest of your coalition party, basically? I'm speaking about the ADC now. Because when politicians say they want to do something, they want to talk about Nigeria outside of here, people are always concerned. And some Nigerians are also asking, is this politician not thinking about external interference? And I remember, even when Nigerians were calling on Trump to come and help us end insecurity at the time, some Nigerians were saying, let him come. Whatever if he wants to take our oil, let it take it. Even Nigerians are not saying the oil, so let him come. But some are saying, let's not, do something that would bite us later. Let's be careful of, external interference. But the man did not even care. Last year, Sokoto, we know about the Sokoto incident, and then some Nigerians are even complaining that after that Sokoto incident, that one that happened last year, insecurity have worsened. Why some say, okay, it's just normal. It's something that we've been saying, so it's not really about that Sokoto incident. But then going back to Atiku now, he's been able to make claims on 3 major areas. He wants to go to the US to report cases around insecurity, economic hardship, and the last one is governance standards. And basically that's talking about their complaint. They have been able to come out with very huge, I don't want to call it, we can still say huge though. They are trying to say that the ruling party, one way or the other, is causing problems for the coalition party and of course all the opposition parties. And then it's not the only one that has come out to say that. So they want him to come and intervene. And I also remember at when the PDP crisis started last year, I think around August, September, before the whole convention and things like that, Tanimu Turaki even came out after the convention to say that when Wike was trying to maybe say we are not going to, you cannot expel us and things like that, he said maybe he would try to reach out to Trump to come and help them solve internal crisis. And I could not make any sense of it, because if at all a political party like that, you are calling on the president of another Western country to come and help you solve internal problems, then what happened to your internal democracy? If you cannot solve that, how sure are we that if that political party and you the executives, if you get to that position, how sure are we that you can rule well if you cannot solve that kind of crisis? So Atiku saying he's going to report issues like that abroad, I don't know, some Nigerians are not taking it lightly while some are supporting him, and then they are saying if at all this will help us solve insecurity, maybe okay. Because I remember even after Trump became interested in Nigeria, especially cases surrounding insecurity, the Nigerian army was releasing statements back to back, and it was as if these people were not, Nigerians were really surprised that why is it that it's because Trump now has interest in what is going on in Nigeria that we are seeing statements from the army, from the headquarters and things like that. So we are not saying, but we also must be very careful of how much we involve these people, and then if at all we can get help from them, why not? But then let it not be because of whatever it is that ADC just escaped in the last few days now, especially with the country. Let it not be because of selfish interest. Let it not be because of personal interest. Let it be in the interest of the people. Well,
I think I want to pick it from where you stopped, talking about why this is to be done, and your fear about how we involve external forces in private issues. It's just like husband and wife having issues at home, and then the more you bring external forces into your cases, the complex it becomes in some cases. And what this actually means for Nigerian government is that Nigerian government will begin to receive closer attention from foreign bodies, especially countries and foreign leaders who would really want to pay attention to how governance is in Nigeria as a country. And that will actually put Nigeria as a country under intense scrutiny, going forward. And it can also make the country go through some sort of pressure, because now there will be, all eyes will be on Nigeria as a country, all eyes will be on the governance model currently adopted by this administration. You spoke about the level of insecurity, also about the hardship in the country, and some people would want to benchmark that against some other countries across the world. I was watching Peter Obi yesterday, and he made some statement about, Bangladesh had recently ordered a fleet of planes and for so amount of dollars, and Nigeria as a country does not have a national carrier. You would want to compare Nigeria against some countries in some, yes, they are making some giant strides, good things are being done there. But if you also compare in some areas too, you would realize that Nigeria also has some places where you would say, yes, Nigeria is a country. But my own problem with opposition in Nigeria is we don't commend. We only knock the leaders who are in power because we feel like we can do better. Yes, it is. You see players who are on the bench, they see more clearly than people who are on the field of play. You have better ideas. You know how best to put the ball at the back of the net. You know the right kind of passes to put forward, and you know exactly what to do when you are on the bench. But unfortunately, when you are on it, it becomes totally different. I will cite this instance, and this is not to slight the former Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Atiku Abubakar. He was in government for 8 years, 8 good years. What exactly did he bring to the table when he was Vice President of this country? He was head of the privatization company of Nigeria, and they privatized virtually all the government-owned installations across the country, including Ajaokuta steel rolling. And what exactly have you gained from all of that still today? These are things people should now ask constructive questions. We are not saying we want to condemn these people. Ask them questions. You were there. Peter Obi was governor of Anambra for 8 years. He still has a lot of questions to answer, especially to people who actually studied his administration closely at that time. Rabi Musa also was governor in Kano State. He also asked questions to answer. In fact, he was Minister of Defense in Nigeria. Ask him questions. He was there when he was Minister of Defense. There was insecurity in the country. So insecurity in Nigeria is not a new thing. But I mean, however, it's not a means to say we should now condone it. It's not a means to say it has become part of us and then we have to live with it. Yes, Nigerians cannot live with this. We have to control it. We have to make sure that we put it to an end. But the people who are speaking about insecurity, economic hardship, and so many other things, they were in power. What happened at that time? Because I mean, as far back as the early 90s, and of course 91, 92, 93, people have been complaining about governance being not the kind of governance they want. There is economic hardship, fuel is too expensive, up till now. I mean, even in the late 80s, people complained. In the 70s, people complained. In the 60s, people complained. So the question is, what exactly can Nigeria do as a country to forestall this kind of free fall when it comes to economic, downturn? We have to look at it holistically. It's not really about administration now. It's about the people. Because if you want to say, Atiku is coming to do something different, Peter Obi is coming to do something different, and some other people like that, we are recycling the same set of leaders. These are people that have been in governance since the 90s. Atiku has been contesting to be the president of Nigeria since the 90s. And you want to say, these are new people. Rotimi Amici has been in government for how many years? About 30 years. I mean, it's a question to be asked. But then, if we now say, because a certain administration is not doing too well. Yes, we understand. People complained about Jonathan too. Until today, people still consider Jonathan to be one of the best Democrats to have come out of Nigeria. Because he made it, democracy look so simple. There are things a president given so much power could have done. I watched a video of a particular media guru saying it was with Jonathan when his election was postponed. And Jonathan was saying, look, they have postponed the election. If we now talk now, they will say I mean, you could imagine how soft he was as a president. That is not to say I'm giving him credit for being soft. I'm just saying that a lot of things could have happened under his watch and he would not complain too. If your election was postponed while you're in your sitting room watching the news, you also got to know about your election being postponed on the news. That says a lot about the kind of leaders you have chosen in Nigeria. What can we now do to turn things around and now have the right set of people, putting the right pegs in the right holes, and then move forward as a country?
Right. So let me take it from the aspect of Jonathan. He also accepted defeat. And then he said, my political ambition is not worth the blood of any Nigerian. And then so many persons, especially politicians, have said, if Jonathan had decided to slug it out with this current ruling party at that time, maybe there would have been chaos in Nigeria at that time, but he decided to say, okay, it's not worth it. He won, and of course, he congratulated President Muhammadu Buhari. And then going back to the issue of insecurity now, something nasty, or let me say something very terrible happened recently. It's not even up to 48 hours yet. In Epuma, a young guy who owns a lounge, at the point of abduction, he was shot multiple times and then he lost his life. He was even trying to, I think there's even a report that said he just got married recently. And then something like that happened. He has a young son, a very small, a very young boy. So imagine something like that. People are losing their lives on a daily basis in this country. And then insecurity is a big matter. And that's why so many persons are supporting Atiku to say, if he wants to take this to the international level, if he wants to take this to the global world, then fine. But some are still not comfortable. They think it's just for his own personal interest. And that's why you really you don't know where to stand in this country, because at the end of the day, it has become so difficult to differentiate between personal interests and national interests. So because insecurity is a major blow, it's affecting Nigeria even as we speak. And there is not just like you mentioned, the ruling party several times have tried to do certain things, put certain structures in place, increase the revenue that these people are collecting, because, there was a claim at some point that soldiers are not even getting paid the way they should get paid. And then it speaks to the issue of if they're actually happy doing what they are doing. Because if you are not happy serving your country, if you are not collecting what can be not for you to even take care of yourself. You might not really be interested in doing what you're supposed to do at that point. And that's why there have been cases of, soldiers selling arms to these people just to make ends meet. And then up till now, I'm not sure something tangible has been done to capture that, to nip that in the bud. And it's a problem. That's why I said, sometimes I said Nigeria as a country, or let me say the ruling party, sometimes they are too reactive rather than being proactive. They have information, and then what they do with that information, sometimes it doesn't really, I don't know how to explain it, because if you have all the information in the world, some soldiers have released certain videos that can help us solve insecurity in certain areas of this country. But what was done with that information, I cannot really explain it this morning. So back to Atiku now, majorly, especially now, let me speak to the issue of economic hardship. Just like you mentioned, Nigeria has been going through economic hardship for years. Now, I remember there was a particular country, they even gave it one economic name. They said economic downturn. And then till now, we are still not be able to resolve it. Even
Has there been an upturn?
I'm not sure there's been an upturn, honestly, in the last few years. And then the defense of the ruling party is that they've been able to stabilize the naira, against the dollar. And of course, things are changing. But if you listen to other persons who are also economists, they will tell you the ruling party is just trying to camouflage us. They're just trying to give us hope. But then things are not working. So if you look at the price of food in the market, fuel, for instance, is a major problem. And that's why some people are saying, let the president bring back the fuel subsidy. But then if they do, what's the assurance that things will change for better? Because if you say bring back the I remember all these opposition leaders, they were also against subsidy at that time. They wanted to say, okay, we are going to bring back subsidy. But even this current administration that we have was against subsidy removal at that time. And then somebody came on this set a few days back and said it was because the president did not see the light at that point. He didn't understand how important it was to remove the first subsidy. And so when he came to power, one of the first things that he said was subsidy is gone, and things changed for the country entirely. And so some persons are saying, let's bring back subsidy. Even the money that we were able to save from that subsidy, where is it? Can we account for it? That's another major question. But if you ask the president, if this current administration, to me, maybe there are certain areas that we are seeing improvement, especially in the aspect of education, not in its entirety. Speak about ASU strike. Now, even though they are still complaining, NASU and all these bodies are still complaining about certain things, but then they've not gone on strike in the last 3 years, and that's commendable. But then how long can we sustain that? But then insecurity is one major problem. And of course, the opposition parties, they need to do more. They need to tell us, article that you spoke of, when he was VP to Obasanjo, I remember I read some paragraphs of Obasanjo's book, My Watch, and he said a lot about Atiku. He even spoke about how much Atiku was able to embezzle during his tenure when he was VP to him. And Atiku did not even respond to those allegations. He would still talk about Obasanjo like he didn't say anything about him in his book. So at the end of the day, what can you do for us? That's why Obasanjo said, if I was supporting Atiku's political ambition to become president, we be against, I really cannot remember how he said it. He said he will be against humanity because he said a lot about him in his book, My Word. So at the end of the day, what are you bringing to the table? Just like you mentioned, it's not just about talking about Bangladesh, talking about India and all of those countries. We've heard a lot. Pakistan. And Pakistan too. To speak about energy. So Peter Obi, in a way has helped us, or let me say something like me, to even read more about all those countries, especially when it comes to issues around electricity and insecurity, because he always talk about them in his interview, especially on national TV. But then beyond that,
including China.
China is even very common. Let's look at the peculiarities of Nigeria as a country. We cannot begin to compare Nigeria to China. I was saying to my friend recently that you see China that we are looking at, before 2030, it will get to a point whereby there will be no household in Nigeria that will not be able to boast of a China product. And that's how they are going. So even if care is not taken, see that world power that US is holding on to, they are trying to slug it out with the US. Because they are doing a lot. So if you are not comparing Nigeria to China, hello, I'm not saying we cannot aim for something higher, but then we have to be real too. With Nigeria, can we begin to even compare Nigeria with other African countries first before we can decide to say we want to compare with China or with Singapore and countries like that?
Well, let me take it from here. Let's talk about the politics, the angle, the political angle of all of this. Atiku is heading to the U.S., just like so many opposition leaders have been able to do in the past administrations. They've been there. Tinubu was also traveled. In fact, when President Muhammadu Buhari, General Muhammadu Buhari, was campaigning to be president at that time, he was also in the U.S., he was also in the U.K., and also they had some other things, some meetings and some roundtable discussions abroad. And what this signals for Atiku Abubakar might not be equal or the same with what we saw in the aftermath of the last meetings we have always witnessed. For President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, I think there is a level of acceptance, from other, Western rulers across the world. Say Donald Trump. I mean, there was a time Donald Trump said a lot of things about Nigeria as a country, and boom, the first lady went to America and the story changed. In fact, she was being praised like, of course, she deserves it.
She led the sermon.
She led the sermon. I mean, that which has not happened in a long time, eventually happened the moment. That's the power of soft power, just like some people quoted it the other time. And also, he was in the UK recently, and see the acceptance, see the way they received him as the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That also signals the fact that there's a level of synergy between Nigeria and the UK. And if you want to emerge as president in Nigeria, there has to be a level of acceptance from these two countries. And for me, I think Tinubu currently enjoys that as of now. When some people thought he was going to react to Donald Trump's claims, he accepted the fact that there was insecurity in the country. He also made some claims about the fact that Nigeria is doing a lot of things to make sure that they nip it in the bud, and they would welcome some sort of collaboration with other Western countries who would want to, help them in solving security crisis in the country. That's the kind of president some of these countries would want to, work with, someone that would want partnership, because they know there's something on the table. They give you, for example, they give you ammunitions, and then you pay back with some stuff. I mean, there has been a lot of bilateral agreements. Nigeria, the president was also in Turkey, and he had some meetings with the president, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, who also had some things to say about insecurity in Nigeria. They even had partnerships about how to get drones and some other things like that. Presidents across the world would want to work with someone they know there is a way of getting things out of him. They know there is a level of, he knows diplomacy, let me put it that way. And for me, I think President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has that and is enjoying that kind of relationship with other countries of Western world. So their body language, even IMF and some other monetary fund agencies across the world, they are also in support of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's policies. Over and over again, they have actually they sang his praises across so many platforms, saying, look, these policies are going to drive Nigeria to the promised land. Yes, that is their own prediction of Nigeria. Nigerians are not feeling that back at home. They don't feel like these policies are going to help Nigeria as a country. But, when people who actually know better, who, of course, you believe they know better, are saying things about your country, you would want to pause a little bit and try to understand which angle they are coming from. And I think that is what some policymakers in Nigeria eventually did, and realized, oh, maybe to some extent, we have seen so many Nigerians who initially was against this administration when it started, and eventually they have had to say, look, I think these policies are facing the right direction, and Nigerians should just be patient a little bit. And that does not mean that they are doing everything right. You might be doing a lot of things right and a few things wrong. What are the wrong things you are doing, and how can you put it to an end? And that, for me, speaks to insecurity in the country. Right. Because the bedrock of any sane country is security. If Nigerians can go to bed and sleep with their two eyes closed and say, look, we are safe, our monies are safe, wherever we kept them, our shops are safe, and source of livelihood are safe, then you can say, oh, Nigeria is moving towards prosperity, because now investors would want to come in. Recently, there was a list of states that were released by the United States of America and said, look, if you are an American living in Nigeria or you are going to Nigeria, avoid these states. What will happen to the economy of those states if investors are not willing to go there to invest? That's a very big question. And we are now having some states or some areas being densely populated with investment. And some areas they are scantily populated when it comes to investment. That, for me, is an imbalance. Some people will say, oh, Nigerian government is paying attention to some states. It's not really the Nigerian government paying attention to maybe Lagos, for example, or maybe Ogun State, because you have a lot of companies concentrated in there. But it's the choice of the investors. What are your governors doing to convince these people to come to their state? Some governors will now say, oh, there is insecurity in my state, and there's nothing I can do about it. Recently, the president even sent them back home, go and fix your state. You can't all put all the blame on the federal government. If the election is coming, you know how to control the police, you know how to control the NSCDC, or maybe your local, maybe ISBA and some other, paramilitary agencies created by the state government, like Amotekun Corps in the southwest. You know what exactly, you know how to control them. But when there is insecurity, you say it's the federal government's issue. What exactly are you doing? Because intelligence gathering can also be done by these people. They know exactly where these criminals are. Yes, they don't have the tools, they don't have the necessary ammunitions to go face them. Why not report to the necessary bodies and let them take charge and take care of it? But unfortunately, governors will now play the blame game. Oh, it's the federal government. Everyone wants to push the blame to the federal government. If your padlock is not, working perfectly in your homes, it's the federal government. We need to take some responsibility as Nigerians. We need to take responsibilities as governors, as councillors, as local government chairmen. Take some responsibilities. Don't push all the blames to people ahead of you. There are things that are localized in your communities. Crimes are local. All right, economic hardship are local. You can imagine market women who something that is meant to be sold for 500 naira is being sold for 1,000, and you are saying, oh, the dollar is expensive. Even for pepper sellers, I mean, we should be reasonable with the things we do and stop putting the blames on the federal government. And then, at least if you can do that and fix that locally, then the federal government can focus on some other necessary things and not worry about the microeconomic crisis we have caused by ourselves.
Right. So I think recently now, let me say in the last few months, the president has been talking about state police. Even he said something to the Senate, like, let's work on this. But then, if you read the body language of some state governors, they are not so comfortable.
It was in the news yesterday or so. They were asking questions about who will now pay the state police officers.
Exactly.
I mean, they are saying state police. Is the federal government still to pay on your behalf? I mean, you spoke about how much money we have made through fuel subsidy removal. Yesterday or thereabouts, there were reports of trillions of naira made as oil windfall since the closure of Strait of Hormuz. These are monies being made by the federal government, and most importantly, some of these monies are being pushed to the state level. You now receive a humongous amount of money as federal allocations on a monthly basis. What exactly are you doing with this money? Some governors, they have not done differently to the way they were doing when they were receiving what they were receiving before, and even after it was increased. There has been no difference. There are dilapidated buildings across the, state installations across the state that are dilapidated. Schools are not even functioning. You go to some streets and you find everywhere littered, and you begin to ask yourself, and you get this amount of money from it. What exactly are you doing? I think there should be a revisit to the Nigerian Constitution, all right? Governors should be held accountable even while in office, okay? Because this immunity of a thing has given them the power to do and undo, and then even when they are not functioning, they are not doing anything, it seems like there's no government in your state, there's nothing you can do about it. You still do his 8 years and walk away. I mean, we should now have, maybe we should, there should be a way that they can be held accountable for how much money is being spent and how it is being spent and on what projects, even while in office.
Yes, and then also in addition to that, how do we ensure that even if we include that in the law, in the Constitution, it can be followed, due process, it can be followed the right way? Because even after some persons are done, some governors are done with their tenure, and then they are called to come and answer to maybe EFCC or ICPC, some of them still find a way to escape. Look at this man, Yaya Bello, with billions of naira.
He's going to the Senate. He just bought his nomination form.
Slugging it out with Senator Natasha Akpoti-Adowan. So even if we include it in the Constitution, can we ensure that at the end of the day, these people, they will answer to the right authorities, and of course justice will be served? Because the Constitution in itself is weak, and then it's not even weak because of the Constitution, because of the document. But who are those interpreting the Constitution? That's another major problem. And then also, going back to the issue of state police, we should have been able to achieve state police by now. Especially because, the conversation started years back. But then some governors are not interested. Some governors are scared of the expenses. Why some are saying, okay, this is the best thing that we can actually do to achieve good security. Amotekun, the former governor, Akeredolu, people were still praising.
He was the one that championed
because he was very instrumental to Amotekun in the southwest. And then the governors came together and they worked. Look at your state. There were several cases that the Amotekun were able to nip in the bud. Speaking about, how effective they are in your state. For instance, even across other states, Ondo State, talk about this state. But then there was a time that even the northern governors, they wanted to come together to create something similar to Amatekun. But at the end of the day, it didn't see the light of the day. So it speaks to the interest of this governor, what they want to do. Because the president can say we want to achieve state police, and if the governors are not in support of it, at the end of the day, is it going to work? There was a time they said they found security money in the bank account of a particular son, of a politician in this country, and they were asking, how did he get there? So at the point, the police officers were saying, oh, it was a mistake. Why was money not sent to your own account, Samson? Well, it disappeared. Why was it sent to his own account? So these are the issues. Until we are able to, just like you mentioned, accountability is very key. The governors are collecting more than ever before, but we are not seeing it. Last week, Friday, we spoke about a school where young kids, about 4 or 5, were sitting on the bare floor to receive classes. And at the end of the day, you are still going to tell them to sing, we are the leaders of tomorrow. Indeed, we are supposed to be optimistic. They are going to be leaders of tomorrow. But the foundation, even the Bible says, if the foundation is faulty, because look at what those kids are going through at this point in time. If we cannot have a comfortable chair to sit on to take lectures, and you expect those kids to do well, see, if care is not taken, if something drastic is not done, it might affect their education in the future, even as they progress. So we really must tackle issues, at the foundational level before we begin to look at, other levels, even as we progress.
Well, just before we leave this particular topic, something came to my mind, and it was about this issue of state policing you talked about. If governors were not on the same page with the president on local government autonomy, I wonder how they are going to achieve state police, especially when they are already asking questions about who is going to pay them. It's a very big one. And I do hope that they find a common ground to sort all of this. If we have state policing, I think to an extent we are going to stop some crimes even before it happens. And it's a convenient place to leave this topic this morning. So thank you for being a part of the show so far. But it is time for us to help you plan your day. And that is where we take weather report on this show. And we'll be starting with the ancient metropolitan city of hospitality, Ibadan. This morning in Ibadan, weather is currently at 25 degrees Celsius. Later in the morning, it will rise to 29 degrees Celsius, and it will be mostly cloudy later in the morning. It will remain mostly cloudy in the afternoon as it rises to 34 degrees Celsius. And in the evening, it will drop to 27 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy. And overnight, it drops again to 25 degrees Celsius, and the weather will be partly cloudy in Ibadan today.
From Ibadan, let's cross to Abeokuta, South Ogun. And of course, weather feels like 26 degrees Celsius this morning. Later in the morning is expected to be around 30 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy. And in the afternoon, we have 34 degrees Celsius. In the evening, it drops to 28 degrees Celsius. And overnight, it drops to 26 degrees Celsius. And that's what we have for Abeokuta, Ogun State this morning. All
right, away from Ogun, let's move straight to Ondo State this morning. Weather in Ondo is currently at 24 degrees Celsius, and later in the morning it will rise to 28 degrees Celsius. It will be mostly cloudy, and by afternoon it rises again to 32 degrees Celsius, cloudy. By evening it will drop to 25 degrees Celsius, but the weather will be partly cloudy, and it will remain partly cloudy overnight at 24 degrees Celsius in Ondo today.
From Ondo, let's cross to Lagos, and weather this morning feels like 32 degrees Celsius. Later in the morning is expected to be at 30 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 2%. In the afternoon, we have 32 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 2% as well. In the evening, it drops to 29 degrees Celsius, clear around 0%. And overnight, it drops to 28 degrees Celsius, mostly clear around 5%. And that's what we have for Lagos this morning.
All right, away from Lagos, we take this one from the Federal Capital Territory, and that is Abuja. Weather in Abuja right now is currently at 24 degrees Celsius. It is currently partly cloudy right there in Abuja. Later in the morning, it will remain partly cloudy and rise to 30 degrees Celsius with humidity at 1%. There will be a promise of scattered thunderstorms in the afternoon as weather rises to 33 degrees Celsius. Humidity also climbs to 40%. And overnight, it will be partly cloudy as it drops to 28 degrees Celsius. Humidity also drops drastically to 3%. It will remain partly cloudy overnight. The weather drops slightly to 26 degrees Celsius. Humidity will be at 4% right there in Abuja today.
And from FCT, we cross to Suleja. Weather this morning, Suleja feels like 25 degrees Celsius, and later in the morning is expected to be around 30 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 1%. In the afternoon, we have 35 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 24%. In the evening, it drops to 28 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 3%. And overnight, it drops to 26 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 4%. And that's what we have for Suleja, Niger this morning.
All right, away from Niger, move straight to Katsina State. And right now in Katsina, weather is currently at 31 degrees Celsius. It will increase to 35 degrees Celsius later in the morning. It will be partly cloudy with humidity at 0%. It will also remain partly cloudy in the afternoon as weather rises to 40 degrees Celsius. But it will be, of course, all clear in the evening and overnight at 32 degrees Celsius and 28 degrees Celsius respectively in Katsina today.
From Katsina, we cross to Maiduguri, Borno. Weather this morning feels like 32 degrees Celsius in Borno. And later in the morning is expected to be around 37 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 0%. In the afternoon, we have 42 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 0% as well. And in the evening, it drops to 33 degrees Celsius, clear around 0%. And overnight, it drops to 28 degrees Celsius, clear around 0%. And that's what we have for Maiduguri, Borno State this morning.
All right, we'll take a trip to Port Harcourt in Rivers State this morning. Weather in Port Harcourt is currently cloudy at 22 degrees Celsius. It rises to 28 degrees Celsius and it will be mostly cloudy in the morning and humidity will be at 3%. It will rise further to 30 degrees Celsius later in the afternoon, remaining mostly cloudy with humidity at 15%. It will be partly cloudy in the evening as weather drops to 24 degrees Celsius, humidity at 3%. Overnight, it will be mostly cloudy and there will be a slight decrease to 23 degrees Celsius with humidity at 5% later today in Port Harcourt, River State.
And finally, for this morning, speaking about weather report, let's cross to Kano Municipal. Weather in Kano this morning feels like 31 degrees Celsius, and later in the morning is expected to be around 35 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 0%. In the afternoon, we have 41 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 0% as well. And in the evening, it drops to 33 degrees Celsius, clear around 0%. And overnight, it drops to 27 degrees Celsius, clear around 1%. And that's what we have for Kano Municipal this morning.
All right, that's all we can take on weather report this morning. We say thank you for being a part of the show so far. Do well to link up with us on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast, and on X, formerly Twitter, at Dominion Cast. You can watch us live on our website at www.dominion.org.ng, dominion.org.ng. Do well to drop your comments. We'll take them on this show. It is time to go on a quick break, and when we return, we'll take the news. We'll be back.
Hello and welcome. This is Daybreak News on Dominion Television. Ibadan. I'm Oluwayemi Adelakun. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has departed Abuja for a three-nation official visit to France, Kenya, and Rwanda. The president will participate in the Africa-France Summit in Nairobi alongside Emmanuel Macron and William Ruto, where discussions will focus on energy transition, digital transformation, and climate action. He's also scheduled to attend the Africa CEO Forum in Kigali, where he will engage global business leaders and promote Nigeria's investment opportunities before returning home. For the 2026 primary elections, outlining key dates for nominations, screening, and voting processes, National Publicity Secretary Bolaji Abdullahi said the exercise will begin with the sale of nomination forms from May 5th to May 10th, while the presidential primary is scheduled for May 25th, followed by a special national convention on May 27th. The party also announced nomination fees and introduced discount for youths, women, and persons with disabilities as part of effort to promote inclusivity and internal democracy. Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde has said his administration will continue to prioritize security to sustain economic development in the state. The governor, represented by Secretary to the state government, Musibau Babatunde, stated these at a dinner for participants of the Executive Intelligence Management course of the National Institute for Security Studies in Ibadan. He stressed that collaboration among security agencies remain key to maintaining peace and protecting lives and property across the state. Former Minister of Power Adebayo Adelabu has rejected the endorsement of Sharafuddin Ali as the consensus governorship candidate of the All Progressives Congress in Oyo State. Adelabu insists that Bola Ahmed Tinubu has not endorsed any candidate, dismissing claims by party leaders as false. He said the president encouraged him to pursue his ambition, adding that the party may adopt direct primaries if a consensus is not reached. The Osun State government has launched a humanitarian program to provide free artificial limbs for 1,000 amputees across the state. The initiative under Governor Ademola Adeleke aims to restore mobility and dignity for persons living with disabilities, in line with existing disability rights laws. The first phase of the program will begin with medical assessment in May, ahead of the fitting of prosthetic limbs and follow-up support for beneficiaries. And in business, Director General of the Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission, Jobson Ewalefo, has commended President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for resolving the long-standing concession dispute involving the Muritala Mohammed Airport Terminal 2 in Lagos. Ewalefo said the resolution strengthens investor confidence and underscores the administration's commitment to contract integrity within Nigeria's public-private partnership framework. He adds that the move clears the way for new aviation infrastructure projects and reflects improved regulatory certainty in the sector. And in sports, Nigeria Super Eagles will discover their opponents for the 2027 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers on May 19th. A total of 48 teams, including co-hosts Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda, will compete with teams drawn into 12 groups of 4. The top 2 teams from each group will qualify for the tournament, scheduled to run from June 19th to July 17th, 2027. You can visit our website on www.dominion.org.ng to watch us live and interact with us. You can also follow us across our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and LinkedIn at Dominion Broadcast and X at Dominion Cast. And the hence Daybreak News on Dominion Television. I'm Oluwayemi Adelakun saying thank you for watching and good morning. Welcome you back. Thank you for staying with us. This is Newspaper Headlines and Analysis. I'm Oluwayemi Adelakun. Quite a number of things to talk about this morning. Let's start with Vanguard newspaper with the banner headline and, of course, a kicker. INEC deadline, Obi Kwakwanso trigger mass defections. And, of course, with these riders, Obi Kwakwanso orders join Dixon's NDC brainstorming Abuja. Why we left ADC, that's coming from Obi. You are a political nomad, presidency mocks Obi. Let me take it one at a time. Obi Kwakwanso orders join Dixon's NDC brainstorming Abuja. Don't forget that during the last Salah, celebrations, Obi and of course Kwakwanso and Dixon were at Kwakwanso's residence, and he welcomed them, warmly. And away from that, while we left ATC, that's coming from Obi. Peter Obi was able to absolve David Mark Atiku of any wrongdoing. He said he left the party not because they did something wrong to him, but he left the party because he wants to align with a party that fits into his ambition, and of course he wants to be away from anything court issue that can tamper, with his ambition, even as he progress. And away from that, I also have this writer that says, you are a political nomad, presidency mocks Obi. The likes of Reno Mokri, Bayo Nonuga, they have a lot to say. They said quite a number of things yesterday, looking at the defection of Peter Obi. We've said it is going to leave ADC to, that's how he would normally do. He lost to jump, he lost to defect, things like that. And away from that, I also have this writer that says APC closes sales of farms today. Same lawyer, two parties. Coalition demands INEC probe of APM and NDC. I just hope that NDC will not face another series of court cases even as we progress. Now that Peter Obi left, don't forget, some Nigerians have questioned the fact that why is it that any political party where Obi goes to, there are issues. But then, good luck to the NDC on that one. And away from that headline, I also have this one that says, NGE set up to Tinubu governors, protect journalists and insecurity and impunity. I think the last few days we heard about a certain activist, a journalist that was, abducted. He was missing for days, But recently, I think the information that we have is that, he's safe, and of course they've been able to get to know where he's. And away from that, we also have this one that says outreach over attacks on Nigerians in South Africa. Nigeria alert citizens of xenophobic protests today. And of course, don't forget that at the time we heard about this attack in South Africa against Nigerians, and even Abike Dabiri was on top of the matter to say that we need to get these people out. This should not happen. I mean, there should be a symbiotic relationship between South Africa and of course Nigeria. But this is not the first time that something like this is happening. Nigerians were also stalked in Zimbabwe a few months back. So I think it's something that we really need to work on as a country. And away from that, let's cross to the Guardian newspaper. And I have the banner headline that says opposition crumbles as Atiku takes Nigeria's crisis to global stage. And that was what we discussed this morning extensively. While some Nigerians are against that move, some are in support to say, okay, take it to the global world. Let's see if they can help. But this is not the first time. Even President Donald Trump himself, was on top of the matter. There was even a time he referred to Nigeria as a country of particular concern. There was the bombing in Sokoto, and so many Nigerians claim that worsened the situation. But then have we seen improvement ever since that? Maybe. It's a question that, you need to answer, basically. And away from that, let's also check this headline that says, Lagos workers demand 225,000 naira as NLC prepares for wage negotiation. Don't forget that recently there was a wage negotiation, and then they were asking for something that is even more than 225,000 naira. But at the end of the day, it was pegged at 77,000 naira. Now they're asking for 225. What is the assurance that NLC will be able to bargain for this exact amount and it will not reduce? Because that's the problem. Because NLC over time, there was a time they even came up with over 300,000, and at the end of the day, it was pegged at 77,000 naira. Now we have 225,000 naira. If you look at that money, now this is the concern of some Nigerians. Even that amount, according to them, can still not solve the economic hardship that people are going through. But then if you can have maybe a slight increase, not even a slight now, maybe a very interesting increase in this amount, it will help a lot of persons to take care of themselves and take care of their family the right way. And away from that, we also have a song that says presidential form, Labour Party set 50 million naira, ADC 100 million naira per candidate. And then I read a particular story this morning. Says ADC is preparing for their timetable. They're preparing for their primary elections. And away from that, we also have this one that says Atiku slams federal government over declining foreign reserves despite 5 trillion naira oil windfall. Of course, we discussed that this morning as well. He's asking for accountability on that particular amount. He's not seeing improvement in the economy of the nation, even though the ruling party is not so comfortable with that statement. And away from that, we also have this headline that says, What Press Freedom Day, SERAP, NGE, HHRC demand safety, justice for journalists. Don't forget that we are in the season of elections, and of course journalists, activists will be everywhere trying to report issues. So we are asking that these people must be safe. I mean, they have the freedom of expression to express how they feel. They should just ensure that they do not go overboard or trying to resort to insult of any kind. And away from that, we also have a headline that says extrajudicial killing, IGP assures arrest prosecution of suspect. I think that's one thing we need to look into. I just spoke about the incident that happened in Epoma, Edo State. Very sad. A young man, his life was cut short. He's the CEO. He has multiple businesses. He's the CEO of a popular lounge in Epoma, and then he was shot multiple times, and that's the end of his life. That's the end of his career. It's really sad. And away from that, let's cross to the New Telegraph, and I have this headline that says xenophobic tension. 130 Nigerians applied to leave South Africa as federal government envoy hold crucial meeting. No Nigerian killed in Rainbow Nation. That's coming from federal government, and that's a good one. But then 130 persons are trying to leave South Africa for safety. And I think the federal government is on top of the matter to ensure that they leave and then come back home safely. And away from that, 2027, Obi Kwakanto formally joined NDC. We discussed that, even though a lot of persons were shocked. But then, even before now, before the defection, it was quite obvious that he was going to leave. I remember Atiku granted an interview recently, and he said, if you look at the top shots in ADC, who among them, has enough votes, has the kind of votes that I had in the last election? And then it was obvious that trouble will definitely show up, because of that, simple statement. Because people were asking, it's like the body language of this man is not ready to step down for anybody in that political party. And away from that, let's cross to another paper. Let's cross to Nigerian Tribune this morning. And I have the banner headline talking about Obi Kwakanto. Obi Kwakanto joined NDC. Why I left ADC, ex-Labour Party presidential candidate, is speaking there. Why some of his supporters are not so comfortable with the way he's moving from one political party to the other. Others are saying wherever Obi is, that's where we are going to be as well. So his supporters, in a way, are quite divided, because of his, recent defections. And away from that, ADC releases timetable for primary election, pegs presidential form at 100 million naira, a presidential governorship candidate to emerge through consensus and direct options. Away from that, we also have this headline that says Nigeria sees mixed effects as Iran's peace move calms oil market. And of course, it's a good development to see that, we are expecting more peace and more calm in that particular region. Away from that, we also have a headline that says gunmen kidnap 60-year-old man in Ibadan. And the family is quite worried about that, and they're looking for ways to rescue this man out of the den of the kidnappers. And away from that, we also have a headline that says Atiku to discuss Nigeria's security situation during U.S. visit. We've spoken about that. Strike, we stand with SANU and NASU, and that's coming from ASU. Don't forget, as if you look at what this administration has been able to achieve in terms of strike in this nation, in the last 3 years, we have not seen any form of strike, even though there have been complaints here and there. We are going on a strike, but then the government have been able to pacify these people in a way. But if care is not taken, they might eventually go on the strike, and it might last for long. Because, this country, we've seen long strikes of 8 months, 7 months that disrupted the calendar and didn't allow a lot of persons to graduate when they're supposed to graduate. And of course, I think the federal government should actually solve this matter once and for all. Because if ASU is still complaining about 2009 agreement, yes, this current administration is new. It was during the era of PDP, but then there's something called continuity. If at all that administration could not resolve it, this administration can do better and, of course, find a way to settle ASU and, of course, ensure that it will put this matter to rest finally. And away from that, we also have a headline that says Makinde backs PDP moves to name caretaker committee today. Drums reconciliation, invite INEC to NEC meeting. I don't know, the body language of some party members, especially people who belong to the Makinde faction, are saying, no, we are no longer interested in reconciliation. But then it appears that something has changed because I'm seeing this rider that says drums reconciliation, invite INEC to NEC meeting. Wabara-led BOT insists party won't die. Are you sure that PDP is not dead in this country? Of course, it's a fine place to leave this discussion this morning. We've been able to talk about quite a number of headlines. Obi Kwakwanso joining ADC. And let me tell you this for free, that even after Obi, other people will also leave ADC to other political parties. Don't be shocked that people will even leave the APC for other political parties. And of course, we're looking forward to what we hand the People's Democratic Party, this NEC meeting that they want to have. And of course, they're also inviting INEC to join them. Thank you for being a part of this segment. We need to take a short break, and when we come back, we move on to the big story. Please stay with us. My name is Uyayemi Adelakom.
Good morning once again, and welcome to The Big Story, your frontline seat to the conversation shaping Nigeria's political future. I am Samson Balogun, and today we turn our attention to one of the most talked about developments in the opposition camp, the political recalibration of Mr. Peter Obi and what it means for the road to 2027. In a move that has stirred reactions across party lines, Peter Obi has officially exited the African Democratic Congress, ADC, and pitched his tent with the newly emerging National Democratic Coalition, NDC. Of course, a lot of changes has been made. A platform many now see as the latest rallying point for opposition realignment. But beyond the headlines, what does Obi's exit really mean? Is this a strategic reset aimed at building a stronger, broader coalition capable of challenging the ruling establishment? Or does it expose deeper fractures within the opposition, one that many may further weaken hopes of a united front in 2027? Today, on The Big Story, we ask the hard questions. Is Obi's repositioning for relevance or retreating for coalition politics? Can the opposition truly unite under a new banner? Or are we witnessing yet another cycle of political fragmentation? And to help us unpack the implication, we are joined by a political analyst and APC chieftain, Honorable Omolaja Olaoye. He joins us on the show this morning. And this is The Big Story. So let's get straight into the topic. Peter Obi's latest political move has once again placed him at the center of Nigeria's opposition discourse, and perhaps at the center of the 2027 political equation. After months of speculation and rising tensions within opposition ranks, Obi's decision to leave the African Democratic Congress, ADC, for the National Democratic Congress is more than a routine party switch. It is a calculated political statement about ambition, ideology, influence, and the future of opposition politics. Obi's move into ADC was initially seen as part of a broader opposition experiment, especially when they had that meeting in Ibadan, stakeholders meeting, an effort to build a coalition strong enough to challenge the APC in 2027. They even agreed to field a singular candidate. What changed between then and now? For many Nigerians, especially his supporters, it signaled a willingness to set aside personal ambition for broader opposition unity. But hey, it is no longer there. He has left the party and moved to somewhere else. That experiment appears to have hit a familiar political roadblocks. Reports of internal distrust, leadership struggles, ideological differences, and unresolved questions over control appear to have weakened confidence in the ADC coalition. So, while the alliance shared a common goal, it lacked internal cohesion. And Obi's exit now suggests it may have concluded that unity without clarity is difficult to sustain. So by moving to the NDC, Obi appears to have to be choosing structure over uncertainty and identity over compromise. The NDC may now offer him what ADC increasingly could not: clearer direction, stronger influence, and a platform it can help shape more directly. And for supporters, they see the move as a strategic reset designed to preserve Obi's political relevance and strengthen his leverage ahead of 2027. While critics, however, see it as another blow to opposition unity and further prove that Nigeria's opposition still struggles to build lasting consensus. That is the central question today. Is Obi's move to the NDC a smart political recalibration, or another sign that opposition unity in Nigeria remains fragile and deeply divided? And also, can Peter Obi be considered a political nomad? Or is Nigeria politically the capital of political nomadism? That is the issue before us this morning. And we are going to discuss it at length with Honorable Omolaja Olaoye. Good to have you in the studio.
Thanks for having me, Samson, and it's a pleasure to be here. For those who are watching us at home, I say good morning to you all.
Just yesterday when Peter Obi had that meeting, stakeholders meeting with the leaders of the NDC, he spoke and he has this to say. Let's listen to Peter Obi, and when we are done, we'll be back in the studio.
Our chairman, of course, all let me stand on all you and existing protocol. You can see that what we did by, when I say let the woman speak, shows that this party will support affirmative action for women. Yes, sir. Because it's too long when 50% of our population are not participating in our production, because the party will definitely move the country from consumption to production. Nigeria will be okay.
100%.
We thank Kwankwaso sincerely, and I join him to thank the leader for one welcome. And I assure him that we are coming here to the part of peaceful part of the family that work hard to build. For the government of today, you know that I contested the election in 2023 in a different party. Happy Kwankwaso contested the same election in a different party. But the government of today have ensured that they put up crisis upon crisis, which led to litigations and everything in our.
All right, welcome back. And that was Peter Obi speaking shortly after having a stakeholders meeting with the leaders of NDC yesterday. Honorable Mola Jaolai, what does this recent recalibration mean for opposition politics in Nigeria, and what does it mean for your political party, the APC?
I think politics is not working in Nigeria. This is what we expected, and we don't expect one political state in a nation of ours right here. And Peter Obi is a political giant. No matter how we are going to look at it, if we are going to look at it sectionally, anything, Nigerian politics has always been playing sectionally before. You are talking about Action Congress, you are talking about NDNC or any other party of the past. But now they can be able to metamorphose into a national one. At least for you to see Kwankwaso there, I think it is good for the polity, and it is good for APC as well. Not only for APC, the member, because with time, people will have alternative. If a political party are being arrogant in how they are going to do internal party affairs. So I would just congratulate Nigerian and for Peter Obi to find another source that is going to be stable for now to realize his ambition. I think that is good, and a lot of people are going to follow.
Now, if you look at the current arrangements and the setup, Peter Obi contested in 2023, and that was a Labour Party.
Yeah.
After which he left the party and joined the ADC. From the ADC, he has moved to the NDC now. Would you consider Peter Obi a political nomad?
At this point in time, being a political nomad is not a crime, and it's never a sin in the when you are talking about spirituality. So for him to have done that, that is you see, you cannot separate ambition from politics. And Peter Obi have an ambition, and he's not doing it for a charity. And he wanted to realize his dream. He has become a governor. He wanted to become a president. And mind you, his followers are so large. And in this kind of instance, whatever they wanted is what he's going to give. So if they decide, he would have consulted them before he moved to NDC. Because when he was in ADC, when he knew that his ambition is not going to be realized, the so-called ardent obedient have been telling him to go to somewhere else where he's going to be able to realize his dream. And for with all those we have been seeing on social media, how these obedience have been suggesting it, have been placing Peter Obi to be the first on as a president, and Kwankwaso. And we have seen Kwankwaso denying it for a long time, despite the fact that he said he has been saying that he's looking for either to become a president or a vice president of any political party, that any party that gives him that ticket is going to be able to follow. Now we are seeing what is going on. At least what the permutation of obedience is coming to, is coming to be seen right now.
Okay, his earlier move to ADC was considered to be a sacrifice for coalition politics. And now that he has left the party, would you consider this another move for coalition politics, or what went wrong with the arrangements in the first place?
You see, in the first instance, a lot of Nigerians knew that this is not going to work, because a lot
recently
of
they just agreed to field a single candidate. I mean, the opposition leaders.
I am telling you,
What changed overnight?
A day is too long in politics. By the time you are planning yours, even how we know that he knew that it doesn't cross across, and he knew that Atiku Abubakar has been favored. And Atiku Abubakar have never said that he's going to step down. Even if Atiku Abubakar said he's going to step down, what about Rotimi Amechi? What about others that has ambition and they are saying that they are not going to step down for anybody? Now, maybe that is they think they are going to be trapped at the end of the day, and this is their best shot. That is why they gave it a shot, because when you are talking about politics, it's involved a lot of intrigues and lying, betraying, because of the ambition. And I'm really delighted that he was not trapped in ADC, despite the fact that ADC itself, it is a political party that is like a leprosy. And I don't think, no matter what the flies, only if Balagombe would draw the case from the court, I don't think they can be able to feed any.
So do you think Peter Obi, his move to NDC now is to strengthen his political relevance, or this will further...
And ambition as well.
Or do you think this will further isolate him from a political alliance?
That is not going to be. You see, we always talk about politics like as if it has to be for, political party, as if it's going to be alternate from A or B. It shouldn't be like that. There should be alternative to Z. If any of those big parties are trying to bully people and are now complying with normal electoral act, which is about the set objective and things about internal democracy, people can be going to any other party. Now people are talking about PRP. You are seeing some people who are moving to 8 p.m. With all that, it gives a lot of people alternative. And you know Nigeria, whoever they love, those are the people they are going to vote for.
So this move by Peter Obi, do you consider it to be about principle or about survival?
It's about survival. When you are talking about...
Politicians move because of survival or principle?
Everybody moves in line, everybody change job, everybody nomad from one place to the other because of surviving. What do you think surviving? When you are talking about principle should be when you are too principled, that means you are rigid. That means you are not ready to be able to hear others people. But for human being, you must be bendable. You must be elastic. You must not be so static and think that yours is only the problem. I don't think it shouldn't be about principle all the time. It's about ideology can come in when you give room for others. If you don't give room for others, how will you see ideology? People are talking about progressive all the time, as if it's something that is standard and is basic. Whereas when you are talking about progressive, it's about new things, modern things. You must be changeable. I think that is what Obi is now doing.
Now, do you see the NDC as a political party, as a special purpose vehicle, SPV, or the NDC is on the verge of becoming one of the major political parties in Nigeria?
For now, if they manage it well, they can be able to be there for a very long time. But when I saw the way they did their scores, it is against the constitution of Nigeria. It doesn't have all encompass of Nigeria. It does not spread across. It concentrated on a particular place.
The South.
Yes. And when you look at even not in South, it is not totally in the South. You might take probably in Southeast or South-South. That is where it concentrated. We are going to see probably about just one northerners there. You have never seen people from the Southwest. That means it's not concentrated across. But for a special vehicle right now, if they can be able to change their way, despite the fact that they are having some court challenges as well. But the court challenges is not about external. It's about them taking INEC to court in order to recognize them. And I think they won. But for now, I think it's a special vehicle.
Okay. Peter Obi has a lot of things to say. Now that you have taken us to that direction and what it might look like when litigations occur in a political party, let's listen to Peter Obi, what he spoke about, talking about litigations and how that might affect the party and how he pleaded with party members to avoid litigations. Let's listen to Peter Obi. We'll be back.
They made us to abandon those parties and move to join another party well, thinking that our situation will abate, but what we saw is that they carried the same problem to where we went to, creating several unresolved litigations and everything. And today, we've left that place to NDC, where the leader have already told us no litigation. We are pleading with them. For sake of democracy, please, don't come here. We are pleading with you. We want to have peace. We want to do the party. We don't want, please, we don't want cases. We are pleading with the judiciary. Please end cases in party so we can face the job of building a new Nigeria that is possible. Yes. So we can take the job of caring where our country is deteriorating today. Just yesterday, I saw a third world developing country, Bangladesh, order for the highest order of plane, 14 new planes at $3.7 billion. Our country has no national carrier. So we want to start building. Please, let there be no litigation. Party members, please don't go to court. We want to build a party. We are not lawyers. Those of us who are lawyers, we want it to be good practitioners. What we want is a party. We will lock doors, if you only welcome. Things will work well for this party. Amen. Women and children will be proud of this party. Amen. These children will, this party will form government that will rescue Nigeria. Amen. Will form government that will ensure that Nigerians can live in Nigeria without living in fear. Nigeria will be okay. So that a mother will no longer cry for a child that left money for school and will not return. And a mother will not cry for a child that went to work or went to farm and will not return. That our farmers will go back to farm. That will ensure that Nigerians will no longer, in their millions, go to bed not knowing where the next thing will come the next day. That's the one we want to fight. Okay. We don't want to spend our time in litigation and fighting ourselves. We want to spend our time dealing with issues affecting the ordinary Nigerian. I thank you all of you that are gathered here. I want to be part of this. Informed. The register is about to close. This ship about to sail. Please do everything possible. So, join. Our chairman, I think our chairman will now be able to say.
All right, so that was of course, Siriake Dixon, Rabbi Musa Kwankwaso, and Peter Obi. They were all there. But Peter Obi was practically begging party members not to go to court, avoid litigations, because that was what sent him out of the ADC. Now, if we are saying there will be no litigation in the NDC, this might just be, might not really be true. And the reason why I'm saying this, and I would love Honorable Mola Jola to react to this, is that the national leader of the party is Henry Siriake Dixon. He's from the South-South. National chairman of the party is Cleopas Moses Zuoge, by the name you know. Also, national secretary is Ikenna Morgan, also from the South. So, all the major stakeholders in the party are from the South. Deputy National Publicity Secretary is Abdulmumin Abdusalam. That's the only northerner in the East Coast list. And if you check the National Vice Chairman of the by geopolitical zones, Northwest is Mohammed Bakinzuo. Northeast is Chairman is Dan Lami Arabs. North Central is Barnabas JC. South-South Vice Chairman Frederick Wotorufa. Southeast Vice Chairman Teddy Obe. Southwest Vice Chairman is Adedayo Hekon, which has a South Southern and probably looks a name from Akwa Ibom, or yes, it should be Akwa Ibom.
Yeah, Akwa Ibom
It's
or
Akwa
Rivers,
Ibom.
yes.
So, well, I'm not ruling out the fact that it might be so rooted in the southwest. But if you look at the concentration of the major ESCOs in the NDC, they are from the southeast, south-south. What does this mean for the party? If you now say, oh, because Rabi Musa Kwankwaso has come to the party, Peter Obi has come to the party, because definitely they are fielding Peter Obi as the presidential candidate, and with the look of things, he's also from the south. So how will they restructure the party and people who are already holding positions of a legitimate Congress, right? If they are holding these positions, having conducted a legitimate Congress, what will happen to them? Are you just going to tell them to step aside? And when they step aside, what will be their gain? Are they not going to go to court just like some people did in the ADC, and which brought them to where they are now?
I cannot project for that, but one thing I can project for is about Nigerians. So we have seen somebody from ADA that has been challenging this NDC for a very long time. When you are talking about registration, because we were made to know that they were not qualified. They were not one of the 10 that was shortlisted to be to be registered. So now, when you look at that, we have seen, and the man is not hiding his disgruntled mind to about ADC. He has been saying it, and I think he is looking out to get to court with that. But when you are talking about is conscious of the way they constituted NDC, is it constitutional? It's not. Because it's well spelled, it is well spelled out that any political party must be, anything that has to do with political must be geographically spread among Nigerians. He really, the conscience spoke against any registered party that has a regional coloration. The way we are looking at this NDC, it has that regional coloration, because a lot of things it was concentrated in a particular place. So for a lot of, with that, Nigerians can be able to even challenge the composition of NDC. That is even subject to litigation. But I pray they can be able to find their feet. But for now, I don't, even not within the party member, I am talking from the general public, who can challenge the way the composition of those who are the elected members in NDC.
Now, let's check the list of, you said they are not qualified to be registered, and they were not part of the 10 parties that were shortlisted.
That is what is on.
And according to INEC, they shortlisted 14 new parties, okay, that have now been registered, and they have LPP, NDP, NRP, PPA, PFP, a lot of acronyms. In fact, you would want to say what exactly. In fact, there is a political party called GRIP now, GRIP. That is the Grassroots Initiative Party. You have GFP, Green Future Party. I mean, different names. And the major bone of contention is the fact that we don't want a one-party system in the country, according to what so many people are saying. And that has, of course, raised a lot of eyebrows, that we don't want a one-party system situation. But now that we have so many political parties, how strong they are to slug it out with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in the next general election? That is one. Two, even if with the numbers we have, are they not, how can we be sure that they are not just political parties floated as dummy political parties by strong politicians in Nigeria just to negotiate when the time comes?
It is not even only to negotiate, because the federal government, the INEC always give them a certain subvention to be able to take off. And when Nigerians have been complaining about that people create party in order to take money from the government. But now, when you see what our Attorney General of Federation did by registering like a core party or any other party, because it's been entrenched in the question that if you don't win certain seats, you're supposed to be registered. And INEC has not been doing that the way it should be done. And whenever INEC do that, they are always reading political meaning to it as well. I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's necessary. I think we Nigerians are Nigerian problem ourselves, because caution is as stipulated it, and the way everything must be conducted is been stipulated. So for that alone, I think that should make us to know that a lot of people created political party in order to get money. Apart from them being there to become a public, a special vehicle for failed potential in some political party. And I think when we get to the next political space, I think the space will have been sanitized, and a lot of people will not be jumping from one place to another. The opposition party, whether we are going to have two-party system, if you are going to have people, greater three people party who is very strong, or four party that is very strong, I think they will have done their homework, and this kind of mistake will never happen again.
So, can the NDC realistically unite other political parties to rally around them against this administration? Or are we going to see a situation where even the ADC will now work with the NDC in the next general election? Or this is the divide that some people have been looking, especially for your political party, this is the divide in the ADC that you have been looking for?
We are not going to cut that out. I mean, if NDC is looking for other political party to join them, APC are going to be looking for another political party to join, to be able to support President Bola Tinubu, like it's been done when you are talking about the APGA. APGA has been campaigning that they don't have any other president candidate apart from President Tinubu. And you are talking about Labour Party as well, who said they are not going to field any presidential candidate. So when NDC do that,
so was that why Dati Baba Ahmed left the Labour Party? Because Alex Oti obviously made it known that he is loyal to President Bola.
That's the fact.
And Dati Baba Ahmed wanted to be president.
He
wanted to contest.
That is the fact.
In the Labour Party.
But
is that why he left?
He has left, and he's going to PRP because he has presidential ambition as well, and there's nothing wrong with that. By the time we have a lot of presidents, it just shows that. But I believe that is a part of why Dati Ahmed left, and he has never said anything. He said he's aggrieved, he's pained, he's angry. That is what he said. But in the few days to come, he's going to be able to reveal his own mind. But
why the APC also formed a coalition to win the last election when they brought in President Muhammadu Buhari? That was when we had the CPC joining hands together with the progressives on ground at that time. They were able to do it. Why is it difficult for political parties to form a coalition against your party? What exactly is your political party doing to these political parties?
We didn't do coalition in 2015.
You merged.
No,
there was a merger.
Merged. That is what I said.
That's still coalition some way.
We merged because it's about submission. But when you are talking about all these coalitions, you are talking about political party giving their mandate or their support to a political party or a candidate to be able to go to the election. You see what happened during the time of AD and APP. That was time of Olufalaye. That is what we call coalition as well. But no, let's leave that. But when you are talking about politics, is about negotiation. It's about begging. It's about pleading. It's about calling others to help to formulate powerful elements.
Are you saying there are arrogant politicians in the ADC?
Well enough. That is what causes their people like David Mark. I wouldn't even say David Mark. I would say former SGF. I think is one of the problems.
Babachir
Lawal is always speak more than he is. He thinks himself to be all in all. He was the one that was challenging Asiwaju Ahmed Tinubu that he fielded a Christian Muslim ticket. He was the one that said he's going to win the election. And he has been coming. He is the one. According to the news, according to what we know, it was the one that even caused Bala Mohammed called him a small boy. That who is this small boy that want to become a chairman of Northeast? That is the one that is going to take over. If not for all their arrogancies, talk about Aregbesola as well. He's so arrogant, and they are so confident. In as much as possible that you don't know tomorrow.
You said they are confident. Are they overconfident?
Overconfidence. That is why Supreme Court has to refer them back to the High Court that called them that they must be, they should come and tell their part of the story. And they decided to go to the Appeal Court. Assuming they were there, it would have been settled. But their arrogancy, their overconfidence, and everything that is what caused their downfall.
The Labour Party got over 6 million votes in the last election. And that was Peter Obi and Dati Baba Ahmed on the ballot at that time. He has moved to the NDC. Do you think he still has the national appeal to actually pull off the same stunts in the next general election?
I don't think he has the power to pull the same stunt as he did last.
Are you saying he's going to get lesser votes?
He's going to get lesser votes.
He came third.
Because he introduced religion and a lot of things. That you will see a lot of people, a lot of Christian general overseer on the pulpit threatening APC. But that cannot happen again. And a lot of them have realized their mistake. I'm not saying they are not going to vote for Peter Obi. They will still, many of them will still vote for Peter Obi. But the way they campaign on the pulpit, the way they came out to speak against the political party, I don't think that is going to happen. Because whether you like it or not, Asiwaju Ahmed Tinubu has made himself to be known to all religious leaders. And a lot of them have accepted him. He has made them to know that it's not about religion. He has told his own story. He talks about his family, and which is not hidden. So now in the next election, it is not going to be based on religions, but when we are even talking about the region, he has given a lot of religion what they have never seen in life before, and a lot of road and a lot of beautiful projects have been created every part of Nigeria. So that is why I think his vote is going to be lesser, but he's still going to make a lot of money.
With what you have seen so far, if President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is the flag bearer of the APC in the next general election, Atiku Abubakar the flag bearer of the ADC, Peter Obi the flag bearer of the NDC, how would you rate their performance in the next general election? Who will come first, second, or third?
APC will come first like it always did. But now the vote is going to increase more than it was in the past. That I'm sure of, because Asiwaju Ahmed Tinubu is not leaving any stone unturned. He has been recruiting. All he has been doing is about recruiting and recruiting all the time. And we have seen a lot of governors that are in his camp. And the beautiful thing is that it wasn't the one that created it. It is the same Jonathan that created it. Presidential vote comes first. So with that, you will expect a lot of energy being dissipated into that election. And that is why he's going to come out fly. Unlike Peter Obi, yes, he's going to make mark in Southeast. But when you are talking about the South Side, it's going to be different ball games because South Side are changing more faster to become center. It is not like before.
They have aligned with the power at the center.
They have aligned with the power at the center.
Akwa Ibom is now in the APC.
Even before that, I have seen Udom Emmanuel.
That's Akwa Ibom State.
When he become a governor, it was a massive vote that was given to ACNA. They really even think ACNA because that election was contested in court of law because a lot of them have been kind of meant to the center. They knew that if they went to those who are in the Southeast, they are always been cheated out. Even before that, you remember this man that was brutally murdered. South tilted towards APP in the past when they started, before PDP captured them. So with what is going on, Peter Obi is going to have a massive vote in Southeast, no doubt about that.
But it will be difficult for him in the South.
It's going to be difficult for him in the South.
According to Honorable Mola Jaulao.
It's not going to be difficult for him in the South.
How about the Southwest?
Southwest.
He won in Lagos in the last election.
It's not.
Is he going to repeat the same feat?
It's going to be difficult for him to repeat that. This time around, because it's all based on religion sentiment. And that is why you see a lot of even Yoruba Christians voting for him. But now we have seen what Obiden have done. They have made them to realize that they are full. They have made them, they cannot criticize them because of the bullying on a lot of things. A lot of people always come on the air and talks about Peter Obi, that they supported him, but they don't see that they are going to support him again. And we have not seen much when you are talking about people that voted Asiwaju Ahmed Bola Tinubu. When during the beginning of this, regime, they've talked because it was because of the reform. Now the reform is reaching the result. And because of that result, people have been speaking good about Asiwaju Ahmed Bola Tinubu.
Honorable Mola Jaulao, thank you for joining us on the show this morning.
Thank you for having me.
It has been a wonderful session with you. Now, as the dust settles on Peter Obi's exit from the ADC and his new political journey with the NDC, one thing is clear. The battle for Nigeria's opposition soul has entered a new phase. Whether this move proves to be a masterstroke in strategic repositioning or a costly blow to coalition politics will depend on what happens next, not just for Obi, but for an opposition still searching for unity, identity, and electoral direction. Can the NDC become the new rallying point for credible opposition politics? Will Obi's move inspire realignment or trigger deeper divisions? And in the end, will this strengthen the opposition's chances in 2027? Or hand the ruling party another advantage? These are the questions Nigeria will be watching out for. And of course, they will be watching closely. Many thanks to Honorable Omalaje Olaoye, my guest this morning, for sharing insight and perspective on today's conversation. And thanks to you all for staying tuned to Dominion Television. And this has been The Big Story. I am Samson Balogun. Of course, keep it locked on this dial. We still have a lot in stock for you. Up next is Trendo. She'll be back.
Need a professional space to bring your vision to life? Dominion Television Studios offers state-of-the-art facilities perfect for your next broadcast, commercial, corporate video, or live event. With flexible rental options, cutting-edge equipment, and a supportive team, we provide the perfect environment for high-quality productions. Unleash your creativity. For bookings, email us at marketing@dominion.org.ng. Call us on 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast and on X at Dominion Cast. Book your space today. Dominion Television, your channel of choice.
All right, welcome back from that short break. The show is still Daybreak Live right here on Dominion Television, your channel of choice, where inspiration meets entertainment. It is time for a Trend Watch, and Oluwayemi Adelakun is back in the studio with me this morning. This takes us to Kwara State, and there was a report of a 16-year-old who was locked up in a police station for 3 days, even though she had committed no crime. That is one of the things you have always said on, in Nigeria about the misuse of power, how police officers, military personnel, and so many other people misuse the opportunities given to them to wear the uniform. And then they met out so many kinds of unnecessary situations on so many Nigerians. And a 16-year-old, one, she's underaged. The other thing is she has committed no crime. What exactly was she doing in a police cell for 3 days?
Well, it's really sad, and to think she's suffering for the crime of her brother. And so this is not the first time that something like this will happen in the country. When they go to the family or to the house and they're unable to see who they are looking for, they pick up the mother sometimes. Sometimes they pick up the wife, they pick up the husband, because they just want to pick somebody up that will suffer, the consequences of the crime the person has committed. And then it's really sad that she had to go through something like this. And that's why I think we need a total overhaul of the police reform, because recently we saw a case where a young guy was shot dead, and the mother said that's the second son of hers that they have killed. So it doesn't really make any sense, and it's not the first time. Remember, there was a case in Ibadan too where a young kid was shot in the car too, because the father was trying to escape the police officers, and they shot, and the young kid died. So cases like this, I think we really need to work on this, because at the end of the day, if at all you are not able to see the person that you are looking for, why allow this person to suffer for 3 days? Because coming back now, that young girl might just need therapy, because at the end of the day, she was not prepared for that kind of, something to happen to her. Really.
Well, I think the Nigerian police need a lot of reorientation, and I think in law, responsibility is personal. It's not family-based. If someone has committed a crime, it should be found and maybe prosecuted for it. And you don't keep harassing and arresting family members or friends just because you are looking for a particular person. You feel like, oh, when we arrest this person, he will come by himself. That's an archaic way of pursuing cases, at the police station, and that should be corrected. And in law, practically, you should not be arrested simply because your brother or your sister or your family member committed a crime if you had no involvement in it. And as it has been said in that particular story, she had no involvement in the crime. It was the brother that committed that crime. And if you had done your job in the first place, you would have found the brother and not go and just harass the sister. Keeping an underage, a 16-year-old in a police station for 3 days for a crime that he or she has not committed. I think a lot of people will still spring up and defend this lady. This is just another mess waiting to happen. And there are people waiting. They are just lurking in corners, looking for mistakes of the police just to make sure that they have something to say about them. And now this.
And then the saddest aspect of this whole matter is the fact that at the end of the day, nothing can be done to get, or let me say, to reverse what
has been done,
went through.
The trauma.
Nothing can be done. If at all they even give her cash, or maybe just tell her, we are going to do this for you. You cannot bring back, you cannot, make up for that pain, that suffering that she went through for 3 days, basically.
Well, I would like to take 1 or 2 comments on the show this morning and see exactly what the people are saying on social media about this particular issue. Sometimes when these kind of things happen, you just cannot help it but to think of why it is happening in the first place. I think Ola says this station has a DPO who is definitely an SP or CSP. He is expected to be refined and at least adhere to the tenets of police code of conduct. Unfortunately, it is always not the case. The action or inactivities or activities of junior officers on the road or in public is the reflection of their, probably wanted to say of their boss or the DPU.
Exactly.
And of course, there is another comment that says, this is pure violation of fundamental human rights. Police has no right to do what they did. The family should sue them immediately and claim damages.
What will come out of that if at all they decide to spend money? Because if you want to sue somebody, you get a lawyer, you have to pay the lawyer. What will come out of it? Dela Kondowo to join us tomorrow for more interesting stories around politics. Dela Kondowo to join us tomorrow for more interesting stories around politics across the country. I'm Oluwayemi Adela. Please ensure that you're safe. Bye for now.